on Thursday, we had a long day of Seattle sports as Miles Mastrobuoni and the Mariners pulled off a scrappy sweep of the Chicago White Sox, and Shane Smith faced off against Logan Gilbert in the series finale. Welcome to the Dom Skeen channel, your one-stop shop for the Mariners storylines on Seattle's minds. And if you can't hear, I'm sure you can, my voice is absolutely gone. I was not only at the Mariners game today, I went to this, which went into extra innings, to the 11th inning, mind you. Right after that, I went to the Seahawks game. So I have nonstop been at the games, and I actually just rewatched a bunch of the Mariners game and the Seahawks game because I'm going to be bringing you guys tons of Seattle sports coverage all of this week, and all this weekend and next week. So stay tuned here and on SeahawksWire.usatoday.com for both of those. Also follow my Twitter at Dom Skeen for updates. I live tweeted a bit of the Seahawks game today. Might start live tweeting these Mariners games too. Let me know in the comments if that's something you'd like to see. With all that being said, long day of Seattle sports. My voice is gone, but have to deliver you guys the news. Miles Mastrobuoni bunts in the 10th inning to keep the Mariners' hopes alive as 9 innings wash out with one another. Shane Smith and Logan Gilbert cancel each other out. Both pitch very, very well. Both offenses scrap it together to piece together 2 runs in 9 innings. But we go to the 10th inning. The White Sox score, had a runner on second. All they needed was, a little bit of offense to get it going. Then the Mariners, in the bottom of the 10th, Miles Mastrobuoni bunts the runner over, who then scores. He beats the throw to first base. Actually, I don't know if then they're trying, because the White Sox, they're pressing for one win in this series, right? They're pressing in the end of the game. The throw is airmailed over the first baseman's head. Miles Mastrobuoni, who runs down the baseline, literally turns around on the baseline and sees Eric Young pointing at the base and like, go, touch the base. Credit to Eric Young for that as well. But Miles Mastrobuoni sprints through the first base line, then turns around and sprints back the other way on it, tags first, and then goes towards, takes off towards second. Thank God. God bless. Thank God that we had one of our fastest and quickest, lowest center of gravity players. We had a guy who is incredibly agile, who can turn around and then change directions and be fast enough to do all of that. Basically having this sacrifice bunt, where he was supposed to be sacrificing himself, come out as a double, at least in effect for the Mariners, because we got a runner, they're winning, run on second, and then Miles Mastrobuoni steals third during the ensuing Dylan Moore at bat, and then anyway, Dylan Moore's at bat right there. I do want to talk about Dylan Moore's at bat as well, because Dylan Moore had this at bat, and you could hear it in Jay Buhner's voice when he was commentating today. Dylan Moore takes this, the second strike, and it's like a curveball at the bottom of the zone from Wilson, who also had a really important role in this game, Steven Wilson for the White Sox. They just were playing a really scrappy game, bringing in all their relievers, bringing in guys off the bench, and that's what this whole 11-inning game was, start to finish. Man, my voice is gone. But Demo, during this at-bat, takes that curveball at the bottom of the zone. You can see him look out kind of into the batter's eye for a second. And it's just like, and Jay Buhner's like, it's all right, Demo, you got one more, let's do it. And it just feels like at this point, Dylan Moore has this anxious body language. I think this was the at-bat where I turned, just by watching it on the TV, because I've been seeing him storm around places for a while now. He's kind of storming up to the plate, storming away from the plate. And, Dylan Moore, if you're watching this, you can go watch videos on this channel from 4 or 5 years ago where I praise your scrappiness. You were once upon a time Miles Mastrobuoni for the Mariners. Right now, I mean, you have shown so much power and speed between then and now. You're also the longest tenured Mariner, the only one that played with Felix Hernandez. Had that. You caught the last ball that Felix threw. You mean so much to this organization, but it is tough to watch. You go out there. I mean, you are hitting 0.3 something, I think, 0.34, 0.35, 0.39, something like that in the last month. The offense just isn't there. The defense is just fine, I would like to believe, but the body language and the anxious nature of things, I can see how uncomfortable it is for him. I just don't know what else you can do at this point. I just think it would be best even for him if we send him down or even, DFA him. I mean, I feel like Dylan Moore could really use a career revival in Coors Field. Imagine how awesome that would be. His power would play there, his speed. He would be a veteran in the league compared to those guys and have much, so much to teach them. And I just think that would be the perfect move for him now that I'm talking about this. But I'm looking at it and I'm not sure that Dylan Moore is going to be on this team for the rest of August. And that's really sad to say because it's hard to say that there's anybody who's a more favorite. Matter of mine, it's really hard to pick a favorite these days because I appreciate everybody's contributions. But in particular, the longest tenured guy who's really underappreciated for so long. Amazing moments, things. Anyway, Dylan Moore might not be on this team through the end of the month. It's quite possible. He has as much power and speed as anybody athletically. He might be the strongest, fastest guy on the team at certain points, certainly. But at this point, I'm just not sure that, his performance is not there, obviously, and then his skill set, I feel like, would actually play somewhere else where he could get these meaningful at-bats. I mean, this guy was AL Player of the Week this year in April, so let's not get it twisted. This guy can play baseball. It just feels like it's not happening right now for Dylan Moore, and it doesn't look like it's really getting better. And I don't have anything to point to say it's going to get better. I think it's really that type of rut that, Dylan Moore is an incredibly inconsistent hitter, and most hitters with his much power and speed that aren't superstars would have phased out by now with a certain organization in this lifespan. They would have gone to multiple organizations and been that utility guy in multiple places with power and speed. Because it's valuable, no doubt. It just doesn't make as much sense as a guy like Miles Mastrobuoni does, to be honest, right now, who's a guy who can bunt really well, who is insanely opportunistic and has a low center of gravity, as opposed to now we have an incredibly tall roster. You've got, credit to Josh Naylor for the same thing. I think, even Cal Raleigh's in the 6 foot range, but, and for a catcher, he's definitely taller than most of them, but almost all catchers probably, but it's we definitely have one of the tallest teams in the majors with Julio, then with, all of our pitching staff and stuff. So we just need more agility on this roster sometimes, and in the starting lineup. We're sold out for power right now, and we need the scrappiness more than anything. Miles Mastrobuoni is providing that. What he did today, this insanely scrappy sacrifice bunt, turn around, listen to Eric Young and tag the base and go to second, then to steal third on the first pitch of Dylan Moore's at bat, I want to say it was. Insanely opportunistic, insanely scrappy. He has been an absolute pest. And I honestly don't know, truly. Pest control, what pest control is being the Los Angeles Dodgers and being so good that things like that just don't affect you over time because stats normalize and you've got so many better players than them. But you can win any game, you can win any series. Things don't always normalize on a given day. And you need guys like this who can just step in there and say, hey, we're about to lose a game against the White Sox. nah, we're just going to go and manhandle this with some, it's not Bush League, it's not gamesmanship. You can look up those two terms for the definitions. It is good sportsmanship, but it's just insanely opportunistic, which is exactly what you need to be. The Mariners were not opportunistic for most of this game. You score 2 runs in the 3rd inning via Jorge Polanco. Sorry, not Jorge Polanco. I predicted Jorge Polanco to hit a home run today. He did get to the warning track, and then he got on base. He walked, singled, so did get on base as well. But it was Randy, another homer for Randy. With JP getting on base, and then Randy hitting him in the 3rd inning. Off of Shane Smith. We're going to go through the pitching lines in a sec, but for now, I do want to ask, if anybody can tell me down in the comments below, Miles Mastrobuoni, it says, did not register an at-bat on Baseball Savant. Can anybody tell me why that is? Is that an error? Because he did come up to bat. He did register an at-bat. So I don't know. Some have sacrifice bunt. I mean, this is an at-bat. Anyway, Baseball Reference has some errors. They also say Cole Young came in as a pinch hitter and didn't register an at-bat or anything. So some interesting errors on Baseball Savant tonight. Dom Canzone with the walk-off just looked amazing. And Jay Buhner, again, you gotta let Jay Buhner talk this week. He's back in town. He's doing these broadcasting. It's very player-centric. It's very, what's going through the head of the player. And he's just like, that's just a great lefty-on-lefty at-bat right there. So the lefty-on-lefty crime for Dominic Canzone is how we walk the game off. And the way Jay Buhner said it is, he's like, yeah, he just really got up in there. And that's what Canzone did. He has such a weird approach, just a weird stance. He has a weird stance, which results in a weird swing as well. But the approach is sound for Canzone. And, Canzone seems more and more every single day that this continues like the long-term answer in right field. Getting into the pitching lines for this one, Shane Smith only goes 5, and Logan Gilbert both get out of the game in the 5th inning. Part of me didn't even remember that because this game was so long. But we get to see the relievers on each side all come out, at least for the most part. You get 6 of the White Sox relievers. You get 7 of the Mariners relievers, in addition to 2 starting pitchers, both all-stars. Anyway, Shane Smith goes 5 innings, 2 earned runs on 4 hits, with 1 walk to 8 strikeouts in just 5 innings on 78 pitches, allowing 5 hard hits, 1 homer. Logan Gilbert also allows 5 hard hits, also allows 1 homer, also goes 5 innings, but allows just 1 earned run on 2 hits, does allow 3 walks, and only strikes out 6, as opposed to Smith's 8. But and then the bullpens in this game were excellent. I'm not going to go through all of them. My voice is raspy. Grant Taylor, though. Grant Taylor looks like he should be playing football. This guy's so athletic. Sometimes I sound like a football scout when I'm scouting baseball, but it's true. Grant Taylor, he is Spencer Strider level quads, throwing over 100 miles an hour when he needs to, sitting below 100, but expending it on, like a strike 3, stuff like that. I think I'm pretty high on Grant Taylor as a futures pick, over the next several years. This year, the White Sox have used him extremely weird. They started out using him as a closer. They've used him as an opener as well. They've tried to have him get 2 inning saves, but they just have not done anything to give him a consistent role. As they don't for pretty much any of their guys in their bullpen. Their complete matchup bullpen, which gave us nightmares today, actually. The fact that they just go Jordan Leisure, Brian Hudson, Grant Taylor, Tyler Gilbert, Steven Wilson, Brandon Eisert. It's all guys who, do we all know those names very well? No, not necessarily. I can tell you things about each of them, but don't know those names that well. We could all look at the StatCast, but can't just recall every Brown and Iser at bat, from this season. Can't tell you that much about Brian Hudson. Tyler Gilbert did throw a no-hitter. No-hitter in the first, one of the only starts of his career. So remember him for that, the Arizona Diamondbacks. And then, Grant Taylor, I just told you, massive prospect, who should be looked at as a long-term closer. I think he's the next Ryan Housley. Let's put it that way. Then Jordan Lee. Jordan Leisure, familiar name. Anyway, on the topic of our relievers, you've got Caleb Ferguson, Carlos Vargas, Gabe Spire, Matt Brash, Munoz, Bizarro, Kowar. Munoz does good, gets a strikeout as expected. Kind of go in order from the most well-known to least well-known. Matt Brash pitches Munoz pitched the ninth, does perfect. Brash pitched the eighth, does give up 2 hits, but gets a clean inning and strikes 2 guys out. Spire gets the last 2 outs of the 7th, and he strikes one of them out on just 9 pitches. He is disgusting. Gabe Spire, inner circle of trust. Same thing with Matt Brash. Obviously, Andres Munoz. Bizarro, hey, he was in an extras, so he gave up a run, but it wasn't earned because it was the runner on second in extras. And then Kowar looked awesome on 11 pitches. Didn't get any strikeouts, but let's see, did Kowar get any swing and miss? That's our question. Kowar only got 1 swing and miss on the slider, but he got a few, pop outs, got a few pop out ground ball outs. I forget exactly what they were. Anyway, go back to the box score. Then you had Vargas and Ferguson coming in after Gilbert, and then to compare the actual starting pitcher performances. Shane Smith, 15 swinging strikes on 78 pitches. He might be a good starting pitcher for years to come. It was the White Sox opening day start of this year. Should be next year too. Not that it's hard to see the White Sox getting good anytime soon, but Shane Smith seems to be the lone bright spot of the year, except for the horrendous All-Star game he had, which I thought was going to have him come in here with nerves. The fact that in the All-Star game, he plunked Gino in the hand and had to come out of the game basically not getting to do anything cool, just make it, getting a little bit embarrassed and looked like he was pretty anxious on national TV and stuff. And then faces him again today, obviously, as a member of the Mariners. So I was interested to see, if we or Gino or he would have any animosity towards us, or if it, not animosity, I guess is the wrong word, but if there would be any, they'd be thinking about that when they faced each other today. And it's hard to say that it did too much. Like I said, 15 swinging strikes on 78 pitches. That's an elite rate. 89.7 mile an hour average exit velocity. When you actually, to not just read you those 2 numbers like I do sometimes, 5 swinging strikes on 31 four seams. That's pretty good, but really the main thing here is the 6 swinging strikes on 19 curveballs. That's like a 30% rate. That is something really remarkable and substantial. And 3 on 14 changeups is extremely remarkable as well. And I have to say, Shane Smith's curveball is good, and the White Sox curveball development might just be good, because also Grant Taylor really loved throwing that curveball. Started off with, I think, several of them in a row in the first at bat he had. And then Steven Wilson's sweeper looks, I don't know, there was, no, that was that not Steven Wilson? No, it was Steven Wilson. His sweeper looked like a curveball, I thought. Which is the weirdest thing to say, because that's not what a sweeper looks like. So maybe I'm looking at the numbers wrong. Anyway, I'm tired. I didn't eat all day, barely drank any water. I was just running on pure Seattle sports adrenaline. I'll show you guys, got my Hawks jersey on still because, I mean, I'm watching replays of Miles Mastrobuoni's sack bunt. And don't forget, everybody that knows, and thank you to my few new subscribers, as well as my few new commenters who are talking about my boy, Ben Williamson. We are still thinking about Ben Williamson, even when we've got a Seattle sports doubleheader, Seahawks preseason opener, big series finale for the Mariners. We're still thinking about Ben Williamson and how he needs to get called up from AAA Tacoma. Somebody make me a meme about, like, what I'm thinking about, like, oh yeah, like, you know the meme where it's like the dude and the girl on the pillow, and the girl's like, he's probably thinking about other girls, and the dude's thinking about Ben Williamson needs to be back up for the Seattle Mariners. He's one of the best pests in the MLB. If anybody can make me that meme, I will shout you out on here. Anyways, thank you for 40 subscribers. On the road to 50. I'm not going to celebrate though. I'll be back with you guys. Not, no big deal. Obviously, subscribers, whatever. But I do appreciate each and every one of you in the audience that wants the best Seattle sports content the internet has to offer. And I'm here to bring it to you. The scrappiness, StatCast, and storylines on Seattle's minds. With that being said, I've been your host, Dom Skeen. I will see you guys again tomorrow for the beginning of Ichiro weekend. Go M's.